However, today they not only have a medical but also a legal point of view. So we called on a former prosecutor and legal analyst to help us out.
I love that the law protects people.
Loni, you worked as a prosecutor for years.
He knew what he was doing was extremely reckless. And even if he didn't intend to kill him, he knew that he was pushing the envelope.
It protects them from danger.
We all know the issues that are at stake in our country. If there are rules to follow, follow the rules.
It protects them from violence.
I cannot tell you how many times as a prosecutor I have stood in the courtroom and put someone in jail.
It makes things right when they're wrong. My name is Loni Coombs, and I'm a criminal prosecutor.
Please help me give a big welcome to Loni Coombs.
Counselor?
Thank you. Okay.
So Loni, it's good to have you helping out today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to join all of you here.
We're going to get on to a subject that is both medical and legal because millions of people purchase the Baby Einstein videos hoping to make their kids smarter.
The people behind the Baby Einstein products admit their DVDs don't turn children into geniuses.
Under legal and consumer pressure, Disney, the makers of the Baby Einstein series of videos and books, is offering parents a full refund on the videos purchased since 2004. Experts say early television viewership can lead to attention problems.
This is an acknowledgement by Baby Einstein that their videos are not educational.
You know, and obviously there's a legal component to this question. Now, I do, before we get on to anything, I want to read a statement from Baby Einstein. What is being reported in the news is inaccurate. A US-based activist group whose mission it is to attack any form of media viewing by a child under the age of 2, regardless of the content, has erected a faulty argument to draw attention to its agenda. The sensational headlines and subsequent stories have grossly misrepresented the extension of our consumer satisfaction program. Our products, which we believe in and stand behind, bring the beauty of sharing music, arts, nature, and the humanities to parents and babies. This has been and will continue to be our mission for years to come.
American Academy of Pediatrics pretty much says, no baby under age 2 should really watch any TV.
It's amazing. It's by 2003, 1 in every 3 babies in America had at least one of these baby videos.
Hugely
That's
popular.
amazing. Yeah.
So I'm confused here, Jim. I thought that giving young babies like that all this positive feedback or information, whether it be music, something visual, something like that to look at, was a good thing.
And that's kind of what the thinking was, but I think we've learned that babies need, that's because it's more of a one-dimensional, they're staring and they're not really interacting with some of these videos. And so the babies really need the more three-dimensional interactions with their parents, getting down with them and playing. That's what really stimulates a baby's development. They actually found for about every hour that a baby spends watching TV, their vocabulary kind of gets reduced in terms of the words they understand by about 6 to 8 words.
A lot of parents were using it kind of as a babysitter and just placing their kids in front of it. And the woman who brought this complaint first to the FTC, and then she started threatening these lawsuits against these baby video companies, was saying, look, these kids are not learning anything, and they're marketing it as an educational
the pregnant parents, there's those parents who buy all those things for the babies in the womb, supposedly are going to be smarter if they listen to the music and they put it on their tummy, and that's not doing anything either. So
I think that this study, though, that Jim, you're referring to, is actually an eye-opener. It was an eye-opener for me as a mom. I always thought, okay, give me an hour of peace and you go ahead and watch and nothing bad will happen. I don't expect my kid to become a genius, but nothing bad will happen. But this new study that came out of the University of Washington, which was published in the Journal of Pediatrics, actually said there could be a detrimental effect from these videos. It could actually be stunting the growth of these children's vocabulary. And we're talking babies from 8 months to 16 months. You assume babies aren't really going to be affected, but they could be. So it is important to really think about what you're doing with your children.
So I want to move on to another topic. A man suing a cereal company. Roy Warble filed suit against Kellogg's because Fruit Loops doesn't contain fruit. He felt like he was misled into purchasing it because it has fruit in it. Well, he also filed a similar lawsuit against PepsiCo because Cap'n Crunch Berries has the word berries in it. So the thought is, I'm buying this, there's fruit in it, and since it's not filled with fruit, that brought the lawsuit. Is that correct?
That's right. It's essentially, that's the beginning of his lawsuit. Now he's broadened it a little bit, but he's not the first one that's brought this lawsuit. Actually, back in 1950 was the first time someone sued Fruit Loops, and at that time, even the case was settled out of court, they actually ended up changing the way they spelled fruit from F-R-U-I-T to F-R-O-O-T. So it did have an impact. Now, since then, this lawsuit's been brought 5 times, and each time a judge has kicked it out of court. So Mr. Werble is now trying it again, but he's going to broaden it a little bit from just going after the fruit claim to also this smart choices check mark that's also found on.
The parents know when they buy this, there's no fruit in here.
Actually, Lisa, you
Not
can't say
necessarily.
that as a blanket statement. I have
Who
had...
thinks it has fruit in it?
Lisa, I have been amazed at some people's lack of knowledge about the food products that they're buying and putting in their house. And again, I'm not talking about these particular products. I'm just talking about people who still will go out and buy something thinking it's good for them when it turns out it's not. So I'm not talking about Fruit Loops or any other particular product. Just there's a lot of misinformation out there as far as what's healthy, what's not healthy. And we actually have the lawyer representing the plaintiff on the phone, Jeff Kravitz. So Jeff, you're obviously representing the plaintiff in this case. What is your argument?
Well, our argument is that the Kellogg's company and PepsiCo are purposefully marketing these products in a way to make people believe that they're healthy and contain healthy things in it, such as fruit.
And let me read a statement from Kellogg's. Kellogg's Fruit Loops cereal is accurately labeled. The Fruit Loops brand and brand marketing are about fruit flavors and aromas. As indicated by its fanciful name, Fruit Loops does not contain fruit. We don't purport in any way that it does, and we intend to vigorously defend against this lawsuit. So, interestingly, stepping back from the legal perspective, I think we would all agree as doctors that there's too much sugar in our children's cereals.
What is the theory of law here?
Well, here, what you're looking at when you're talking about truth in advertising, and this comes up a lot in food, especially, breakfast cereals is a great example. All of the claims that you see on these boxes, good for your immunity, high fiber, good for you. The makers want to do this, obviously, to sell their product, but they have to make sure that, 1, it's truthful, and 2, that they can back it up with scientific facts. Now, this new thing called the Smart Choice label, I'm sure many of you have seen the big check on it. It's a good idea because it actually requires that they put the information on the front of the box, which they've found people will actually look at the front of the box rather than take the time to turn it over. But based on the criteria, you're getting a check on Fruit Loops, which is the more credible part of the lawsuit. But the main thing is to look at this and say, look, what are they trying to sell? And we need to take some responsibility and actually look at the products that we're buying and say, is this really good? Look at the ingredients. Don't just assume because you see a check there that it's good for you. The smart people say, well, what we're really trying to say is it's better than a donut.
So regardless of what happens with this lawsuit, something we've preached to our viewers time and time again, everyone here in the audience knows this, we say, look at the ingredients. And we can be better consumers, and we can actually encourage food manufacturers to make more wholesome foods if we buy those.
Well, you know what? I think we all, as doctors up here, we feel that everybody should eat everything that's healthy. We know that some people are not going to eat some things healthy. And we know that sometimes, as parents, they may buy this just because it tastes good for a kid, just like you might buy a candy or something like that, and you're giving your kid maybe some sort of treat that's not healthy. You shouldn't do that all the time. But sometimes you do, because you should have some happy memories. I had Fruit Loops as a child.
Absolutely.
And I have some happy memories about my darn Fruit Loops.
So in the end, as from a health perspective, everything in moderation. You can. It's not that you can never feed your children a sugary cereal. It's just it should not be the basis for their diet or anyone's diet. So Jeff, we want to say thanks so much for joining us and giving us your perspective on this case. And thanks again. I want to move on to another subject that is very controversial. Everyone knows that with the swine flu scare out there, the H1N1 flu, I should say, that a lot of schools are now implementing a system in their schools to give the H1N1 vaccine to children. Now, you're supposed to have parental consent. Well, 3 children in the New York City school system were inadvertently given the vaccine, even though the parents actually said on their forms, we don't.
Right, don't, big marker, don't give the shot.
And in one case, one of the children, a 6-year-old, was allergic to something in the vaccine. So she ended up having to go to the hospital. So this just raises a lot of legal issues. It's very scary.
As a parent, I would be through the roof if this happened. But don't wait for the legal system, okay? By then it's too late if you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna sue. Take a proactive choice in making sure, because you turn your kids over to the school, you hope that they're gonna do right. You know, everyone hopes they'll do right, but no one's gonna protect your child more than you are personally. So make sure, follow through.
No, it
The
turns out
intent was good for a large group of people.
Right.
Not to hurt anybody.
That's right. Now, here's something that's very important and a lot of people don't realize. There is a federal law called the PrEP Act. It's Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act. It allows, in certain circumstances when there is a nationwide health threat, either from a terrorist act or a pandemic or an epidemic, for the federal government to step in and declare immunity to any distributor, manufacturer, administrator of the cure. That happened on the H1N1 vaccine this last summer. So there's a very good chance that this school nurse, who is a distributor and administrator of this vaccine, if she did it not willfully but negligently, may have immunity.
This is absolutely unfortunate that this happened. But the other point we want to make, we've talked about this before, the H1N1 vaccine is a safe vaccine. Well, thank you, Loni, for participating today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Still to come.